Metal meets games. So this is a video I was looking forward for quite some time. So as you might know, I'm coming from the metal and from the rock scene, and I'm like super excited about different like metal and music crossover, especially from the realm of metal. And it's quite interesting. If you look in the game dev scene, there are so many metalheads. And if we look closer, this video will give you a little bit of an overview of what do bands like Nine Inch Nails, Blind Guardian, or System of a Down have in common. They have been involved in video games, and especially not just as soundtrack artists, but often as an integral part of the game design or even of studio founders. So let's look at a couple of examples of this super exciting world metal meeting game dev world. So one example, I have to start with this because it's a very obvious one, but a very interesting one. This one is called, I'm sure many of you, especially if you're in the world of metal, do know this song, this game, which is called Metal Hellsinger. But actually it is full of interesting songs from the metal world because it is a rhythmic first-person shooter developed, it was I think 2022, by the Swedish developer The Outsiders. Behind The Outsiders, one of the creative heads is David Goldfarb, who is also coming from this rock and metal world. He's a veteran game designer and was the key creative also previously on games like Payday 2, Battlefield 3, Bad Company 1 and 2. And yeah, Metal Hellsinger is a very, very interesting game released by the studio. You fight to the beat in hell. And yeah, the better your timing, the more vocals are later also unlocked. It's quite an interesting shooter game, a little bit referencing also the Doom franchise because of this demonic world. But what is quite interesting, if you look closer, the music from people like Serj Tankian from System of a Down, Matt Heafy from Trivium, Alyssa from Arch Enemy, or Tatiana from Ginger, did write music exclusively for this game. And a fun fact, I think it was 2 years ago, the year 2 or 3 years ago, when they released that game, during Gamescom, they had a full-fledged hall of Gamescom for a full-fledged metal concert. It was almost like a small metal festival. It was a very interesting performance of many of those artists I just named. And yeah, metal being on Gamescom. This was something really, really lovely. The second game I would like to introduce, I'm also sure many of you already know this because this is pretty much the love letter to metal fans from metal fans. Brütal Legend, 2009, an action adventure with RTS elements by the studio called Double Fine. Double Fine, the main director behind this game and also behind the studio Double Fine is Tim Schafer, also known as a heavy metal fan. And usually, and that's quite interesting, he's rather known for games which I have so much love for. Some of my favorite games are actually coming from his direction, namely games like Day of the Tentacle, one of the best games in the world, Secret of Monkey Island, also says, or Monkey Island 2, he was involved in A Broken Age, Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, so many rather, let's put it that way, like point-and-click adventures. And then Brütal Legend was a very different game, I would say, but you could see this was a love letter. You play Eddie Riggs, who happens to look very similar to Jack Black and is voiced by Jack Black actually. And you play this roadie in a heavy metal fantasy world. So the entire environment is all around a metal fantasy. And you'll figure out there will be people like Ozzy or Lemmy or Rob Halford from Judas Priest who you will encounter during your journey in this game. The soundtrack, again, from the heavy metal world, there's so many interesting contributions coming from Slayer, Motorhead, Manowar, Black Sabbath. Very, very important game if you're interested in this world. the third one I'm super excited about. This is a game I'm looking forward already a lot. You might see already a little bit a bias here. This is a game called Sleep Awake. You can follow the production, the development now, because it's coming out 2026, so next year. It's a psychedelic horror adventure by a studio called Eyes Out, and it will be published with Blumhouse, which is actually rather known from the film world, from the horror movie world. And this will be a super interesting horror game. And the most interesting fact is that this game, it's obviously looking really good and the story is really good, but if you look at the development, the studio is co-founded by Corey Davis, who is super known in the game dev world. He's the one of the creative heads behind the game Spec Ops: The Line, which was already known for bringing such a spectacular, interesting new view in this sort of genre. And then you have Robin Fink as a co-founder. So everyone from the music scene might know the name Robin Fink now. He's especially known as the guitar player from Nine Inch Nails, but also back then from Guns N' Roses, and like super known in the music world. And the two of them combined, this strong game design and this strong music heads developing together this game, super atmospheric, surreal design. You're gonna be super excited. So Sleep Awake. Sleep should be avoided, and there's a lot of interesting music and atmosphere involved. So can't wait for this game to come out, hopefully next year.
Give me your idea.
Game number 4, I think super interesting, is Sacred 2, Fallen Angel. This is a action RPG with German background from Ascaron Entertainment, and again from this German background, quite known is also the power metal band Blind Guardian. And Blind Guardians, they've been around forever, and they added an exclusive song, and in a side quest within this game, you can find a full-fledged metal gig in the middle of this fantasy game by Blind Guardian. They even, like, all the animation were like motion captured, and this already shows it doesn't necessarily need to be a shooter game, it doesn't necessarily need to be a horror genre. It can be also a fantasy world where metal or rock do fit quite nicely. There are so many genres in metal, right? Game number 5. This might be one of the most famous ones and one of the really early collaborations. Quake is so important for the world of first-person shooter. Like, everything developed by id Software back then was contributing so much to the world of games, especially to the world of first-person shooters. And interestingly, the soundtrack, but also some of the sound effects from this game are coming from Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails. So this is super lovely, where you actually see so much industrial ambient, everything Nine Inch Nails is known for. This really atmospheric industrial ambient, dark, atmospheric, and you even find Nine Inch Nails logos hidden in some in-game items. We'll directly jump to the next id Software game. This is called Doom. You might know Doom as well, but also the 2016 version of Doom and also Doom Eternal do have very interesting metal contributions. So the composer behind Doom and Doom Eternal, so the 2016 version, is Mick Gordon. And Mick Gordon is a pretty known composer, producer, musician, and known for many other games, including Lawbreakers, Atomic Heart, Wolfenstein, Prey, but again also the Doom games. But he is also in the production credits of many metal and rock productions, such as Bring Me Over the Horizon, Motionless in White, or even The Architects. And the last example from this list I would like to talk about is Cyberpunk 2077, a very famous action role-playing game by the developers behind games like The Witcher, also CD Projekt Red. And if you don't know this game, one of the main roles is Keanu Reeves, who is playing Johnny Silverhand. And Johnny Silverhand in this game is part of a band called Samurai. And behind Samurai is actually the real world band Refused. So this is also so lovely, where you see like how the real world music and the in-game lore sort of merge. And then also like tracks from this game then also became really popular. I give you a little bit of a list of additional honorable mentions and a little bit of additional trivia. So also the 2D action platformer Valfaris did feature the soundtrack by Kurt Victor Bryant, who is ex-member of Celtic Frost, a very, very interesting Swiss metal band. Then of course, like with Guitar Hero, there are super interesting specials like coming from Metallica. Kiss has its own game. There's Twisted Metal featuring Rob Zombie. You'll find Avenged Sevenfold within Call of Duty. And what I find super interesting and fun also to watch myself is Matt Heafy. We talked about him earlier, the singer in Trivium. He is streaming a lot on Twitch. So he sometimes streams rehearsals, sometimes he streams live backstage from the concerts. So it's quite interesting again here how also like the game Twitch as a usually like originally platform developed in the realm of watching others play video games is now also used by many musicians to talk about the music, stream concerts. So super interesting metal crossovers, and I hope to have shown you that it's not only the soundtracks. It's not like the musicians would write the soundtrack and that's it. They're sometimes really involved in the whole development process. And what's really lovely to see also in studios like Ice out that you can see that, even in the world of metal and rock, there's so much interest in contributing creative ideas into the world of video games, and I can't wait to see what's happening there next and what creative endeavors we'll see when those two worlds do collide and do merge. So what games did you like to play? What other games did I probably miss? Please add your thoughts to the comments. And if you're interested in more of those like tiny lectures from the game dev realm, please also feel free to subscribe this channel. Bye.